Well, we've reached another milestone, 200 subs. At 100 subs, I released a video talking about the Erdene style bottom deal. Now, I was thinking, what should I do for this next video? And I was thinking most likely it was going to be a second deal tutorial. But from the only people that responded to my comments, to the only people who responded to my post or commented on my post, they wanted to see a center deal tutorial. And I was thinking for a while, should I do a center deal tutorial? Because the center deal is definitely one of those more underground moves in card cheating and card magic. It's just not quite a move used in card cheating, but it definitely is in that area. So I contemplated for a while, and I'm not going to teach the center deal that I do. I'm not going to teach Alan Kennedy's. I'm not going to teach Jason England's. When I pondered on whether or not I'm going to teach a center deal, I ultimately decided that I will. But it's going to be what I call the practical center deal. So that's what I have for you today, is the practical center deal tutorial. And in this tutorial, I'm going to explain some concepts and thoughts that I've had a while for card cheating as a whole, especially with false deals. So that's what we're going to get into today. Hope you guys enjoy the video, and thanks again for 200. Quick side note I want to say is the stuff in this tutorial is kind of advanced. So if you don't know or are unfamiliar with some of the terms that I use, I highly recommend watching my other tutorials or just going on and doing some research and having at least some knowledge with false stealing and whatnot. Anyway, hope you enjoy. Okay, for this tutorial, I will be using these Shemekia casino playing cards. They are from the Vegas World Casino. I found these at a shop. They are vintage, but if you can find yourself a pair of these kinds of cards, they're good. A little stiff, but also thin. They're really neat. They work pretty good. The best way to describe them is like, they're kind of like aviators with like a light finish on them, with a light air cushion finish on them. And of course, they have the all-around back design. So, card cheating as a whole, at least when we get to the false deals, can sometimes be impractical. And I'll show you what I mean. Thing number one, most days, card cheats are not playing 5-card draw. Now, for a bottom deal, using playing 5-card draw, a bottom deal is good because you get a slug to the bottom of the deck, and then you deal it out. And every time you deal one out to yourself, you're grabbing an ace, right? Or you're sailing it out to a partner. The point being, though, you have a lot of cards, and because you have a lot of cards, dealing out bottoms isn't a problem, you know? They aren't grueling bottom deals, they're consistent. Where the problem arises is within Texas Hold'em and in Blackjack. Where in Texas Hold'em and in Blackjack, if anything, it would be more useful for one bottom deal, because the way the cards are divided up for dealing, you're not as ready for a bottom. What I mean by that is, one, most people practice their bottom deals, especially if they're doing multiple during a dealing process. They usually do 5-handed because that's a normal amount, and they don't do a bottom on the first round. They usually start their bottoms on the second round, the third, fourth, and fifth rounds. That's when they typically do their bottoms, and whatnot, like their bottoms and whatnot. So that's why bottom deals are kind of impractical now, because during Texas Hold'em, you have a couple things going on. One, you're doing stud bottoms, so you have to do things for like the flop. Sorry, let's backtrack. For your whole cards, you either have to do bottoms, right, which can be very grueling, especially if you can only get one or two of those. It could be especially grueling because you're doing it with more cards, and not only are you doing it with more cards, you have less time to get ready because of it. And for it to really be effective, of course, dealing like pocket pairs and whatnot are advantageous. You also have to mix in studs. So you'd have to do this and then boom, 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 studs, and stay consistent, you know? and then burn, turn and burn, turn, you know. So it could be a lot less practical, and it could be trickier, and you have the error of being less consistent because of it. Now, if we're doing one card, maybe, where it's only to give yourself an advantage in like blackjack or in the other game, in Texas Hold'em, one round isn't as bad. 4 and then 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, and bottom on that one. And that's not as bad. Now you have an ace, and you have a pretty decent starting hand. So one card is practical. 2 cards can even be practical if you're really good at bottom dealing. So if we know 1 and 2 cards are practical nowadays, how does this apply to the center deal? Or to other false deals? Well, because Greek deals are like bottom deals, it works, and same thing with center deals. And of course with second deals, because you're only controlling 1 card at a time, it's of course advantageous in second dealing, because second dealing uses only 1 card at a time for protecting it, you know, like this. So second dealing, bottom dealing, and all those are way more advantageous nowadays with 1 card. Center dealing isn't that advantageous in cheating because it's just more complicated than a bottom deal. And there's already easy ways to get around the cuts and whatnot for bottom dealing. So why would a center deal even be practical? Well, you can do the same things you can do with the center deal. You can do the same things in a bottom deal with the center deal. And if you're doing only 1 card, it works. There's also many gambling theme effects in Jason's book and in Darwin Ortiz's book and in Andrew Wimper's Down Under Deals book, where 1 center deal, just 1, is advantageous. So this tutorial is supposed to help with making that kind of process easier so that people can do these effects. So let's talk about it. What would this center deal look like? There's 2 ways you could do it. You can do it with that card being on the bottom of the deck, giving the cards a cut like so, and then dealing out a hand like that. Or you can do it with that card already out of the deck and doing a move like this, and once again dealing it out like so. That's the center deal I'm teaching you. And it's only for 1 card at a time. Well, only for 1 card. So, how do we do that? Let me show you. If we ever think about how a bottom deal works, it works a lot like a bottom deal. If we think about how a bottom deal works, like an Erdnase one, that card is already out like this. And all it has to be done is taken like so. Now, in Jason England's Foundations line, that's where you can learn a more consistent center deal and where you can learn the bottom deal. He uses, instead of doing the push-off card like in Erdnase, he uses a spread of cards. So now what we got is this card that's out and a spread of cards. Now if I keep my hand down, look, you can't even see that ace. So I'm dealing from a spread, keeps everything low, hidden, and consistent, and when I get to myself, I can pull that bottom card. That's how the center deal is going to work. All what happens here is when that ace is on the bottom of the deck, when you cut it over, you want to cut a little bit less than half. And as you complete the cut, it's a step. And what that step does is when you come to square the cards, that card gets isolated. 1 card. So this is what you have. Now the only problem with this is you can see it. This is where the bevel comes into play. If you bevel the cards downwards, they'll never see it coming. And now you can place, and when it comes to the center card, you can place that center card. And that's essentially how it's done. Now a second way to do it is by riffling through the cards like this, putting it somewhere less than or more deeper than half, and you're going to do a Neil Elias type shift move. Where that card is there, you're going to push it at an angle like so, So it's sticking out, and then your pinky pulls it straight. From there, your middle finger can make contact and push it out more while beveling the deck. That's what the bevel looks like. From the top view, now there's nothing. You can deal it out, and when you get to your card, you can just pull it. So that would be a practical center deal. Now, I'm not going to tell you how you can do this with multiple cards because you really only need it for one. If you would like to learn how to center deal more effectively, I do teach over on my Instagram. Just reach out and hit me with a DM. I also recommend getting Darwin Ortiz's lesson in card mastery, where you can learn the Alan Kennedy center deal. You can also learn Andrew Wimhurst's version of the center deal in Down Under Deals, as well as Jason England's Foundations line over on Theory 11, where you can individually purchase the center deal tutorial or get the Foundations line. And if you need other personal coaching, Jason England will personally coach you if you reach out to him through Facebook, and Jason Ledeni will teach you if you purchase the lesson. So if you want to learn how to center deal similarly to this, reach out to me on my Instagram and I will teach you everything, maybe not everything, but most of the stuff that I know in order for this center deal to work and be the most deceptive center deal you can have, of course. Anyway, guys, I know it's not the longest tutorial ever or the most detailed tutorial, but I highly recommend, if you need further guidance on just false deals in general, the following, like the whole center deal idea is based off of everything I taught from the Erdenase deal, except for the fact that the card is hanging out more than in the Erdenase bottom deal. So if you want to learn that, I highly recommend you watch that, learn that first, and then you can take this center deal and apply it to the magic effects. Because in general, my goal is not to teach the most difficult center deal or center dealing from multiple positions in the deck and whatnot. Those are kind of underground things that I'm not fully comfortable with teaching because of the nature of cheating at cards and the nature of it's a closed secret and it's not my place. I feel like it's fair enough to teach just this one move. It's like I would say some pretty good gold right there, especially since I have seen a couple of center deal tutorials here on YouTube that are just terrible, or I've seen other people's center deals that completely give it away. And I am not saying I'm not a culprit of that. I've taken down some videos because I've given away kind of how the center deal works, and that's what I'm trying to prevent. Because out of respect, I want to keep people's things belonging to other people. And that's why I'm not taking credit for any of the moves and stuff. Just to be clear, all of the center deal knowledge comes from Jason Ledeni, Jason England, and all of the sources I've already recommended. Again, I do think I am qualified enough to teach it somewhat, but not qualified enough to charge you for it. But I'm not going to make it as general so anyone can figure it out, because that wouldn't be fair to most people and their hard work. Anyway, if you like what you see and you want more, go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you want more personal coaching, once again, I offer it for free, and at least for now. If I get more popular or more famous, maybe I will end up start charging. So if you need free assistance now, this would be the time to reach out. Anyway, guys, I hope you have a great, wonderful rest of your day. I'll catch you in the next one. Let's get to 300.